Please join me in the pledge to the Bible. I pledge allegiance to the Bible, God's holy word. I will make it a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. I will hide its words in my heart that I might not sin against God. Join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We've been working through our catechism and questions. We have been talking about who God is, that he's the maker of all things, and that we were made for his glory. We glorify him. So let me ask you this. How can you glorify God? By loving him. We show our love for God by being obedient. And today we're talking about obedience. So as a reminder, our first school rule is obey. So let's bring up Ms. Stomajo to talk about obedience.
Good morning. Okay, so yesterday we talked about some definitions of obedience. I have another one for you. To do as one is told. What is obedience? Yes. To be obedient, to just be obedient. Okay, y'all have to wake up. Come on, to be obedient. There we go. To obey is defined as to carry out a given order. So Vivian and her family have a new dog, and that dog is big, and he jumps this high, and that's not a joke. And they are trying to train the dog. He's only 4 months old. That dog will, even though he's as big as he is, and he's very, very strong, his paws are probably about this size, that dog can sit all the way over there and will stay sitting while waiting on his food. Is that obedient? Yes. He knows there's a consequence. So when we obey or disobey, there's a consequence. There's something that happens when we obey or disobey. The dog knows that if he doesn't stay wherever it is that they put him, he is not going to be he will not get his food. They're not going to even put it in the bowl until the dog is sitting where he needs to do. So we need to realize that there are consequences for things that we do or we don't do. I was kind of sad yesterday because we spoke about obedience in the morning at morning time, and in my music class, I had some disobedient students yesterday. So boys and girls, if your teacher tells you lunch is over and you finished eating, you still have your stuff out, and your teacher says, okay, boys and girls, it's time to pick up. Let's go. You close your lunch kit, but you leave everything else there, all the trash. Did you really obey? No. So obedience is not just doing one part of something. You have to follow through with everything. What are our lines? So if your teacher tells you to line up, even though you've gotten in line, if our rules are sprint, straight, silent, are you obedient? No, you can't do a part of it. In math, if you're working on a math problem, if you leave a portion of it out, is the answer going to be correct? No. The same thing with obedience. If you don't fully obey, if you don't fully do what you were asked to do, fully do what you know that you're supposed to do, you're not obeying. That's not obedience. And there are consequences. Your teacher, if you don't obey in school, one of the students yesterday, because we talked about it. We sat down and we talked about what we're learning in morning time. And one of them said, well, you might have to go see Mr. Lockyer. So that's true. That's a consequence. It is a possibility that after so much of me trying to work with you and trying to have your heart in the right place so that you follow after God and do what's right and do what you're told, And yes, after a while, I might have to say that. Another consequence might be having to sit out at recess or maybe walk at recess. Or sometimes we might get that little pink piece of paper sent home, and I know we don't like that. So obedience, like I said, there are good consequences and there are things that are not as good when we don't obey. So if we obey, if you're willing and obedient, the Bible says in Isaiah 1:19, you will eat the good of the land. What will happen? Good. If you carefully obey his voice and do all that I say, listen to this, then I will be an enemy to your enemies and an advisory to your advisories. That's Exodus 23:22. Who wants the Lord on their side? If your hand's not up, you better put it up. We all want the Lord on our side, definitely. So in order to be that way, we need to obey. Obeying is so important. I can't tell you enough how important it is to obey. Not only that, you are so much more joyful. Your life is so much better when you obey. The administrators and the teachers here, the coaches, everyone that's a staff on this property is here because we love you, because we care, and because we want what's best for you. So these rules, these ways that we need to obey aren't there to be bullies, not at all. It's because we love you. We want to help come alongside your parents and train you in the way you should go. And part of that is obeying. Good job. We're going to sing our song.
How can you glorify God? Good. The Lord be with you.